Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of great Mr. Well, to the Akim Alquatra of the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth and diligence of mind to the gospel of the Lord for my Shak Yahushai, these days and times, this Brahmanasha, DC camp. In these last days, this is a lesson, you have to constantly remind yourself of, man, prophecy, prophecy, prophecy. So, this automatic draft is getting people's, shaken up, all right? Because when you read the comments on the charts, on the board, folks are just what you call it, sad and miserable and upset that they cannot deal with it. It's not helping their cause. The comments are just, look at that, at least 7.5, well, 7.5K in comments, and the people are getting worried. Sooner or later, that comment is gonna double very soon. All right, because the people of Babylon don't want to fight, man. They're not happy with the representation of their so-called elected leaders. And yeah, it's beginning to show. The power. The power is fading fast out of the hands of the politicians, and the people are going to have an insurrection against the abuse of authority. All right, and it's going to get ugly. All right, so this news report talks about the automatic draft. The folks on the comment board are just saying, how is it that you have an automatic draft, but you don't have a automatic voter registration? All that stuff, man. Just talking about they don't want to see any resolution or legislation passed to give more power to these little hats to have more control over America's population. And you could see the dissent. You could see where the people stand. All the zombies are just beginning to catch up with what's happening. All right. So, the draft is nothing new. When you read the book of Numbers, it helps you to clearly know where the draft, the idea of the draft, it was a decree of the Lord, Yahweh Shemashah, Ba'ashim Kakadash, for the children of Israel to have a draft. That's just what it is. And you can see that in Numbers chapter 1. When you read from verse 1 to verse 4, it tells you, what makes up the draft. So this is Numbers chapter 1, verse 1. And the Lord Yahweh Shemashah Bashim Hakadash spake unto Mashah, that's our forefather Moses, in the wilderness of Sinai. All right, in the tabernacle of the congregation, on the first day of the second month. All right, so that was on the new moon. All right, first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families. So when you click on the interlinear, when it says children in the Hebrew is banyam, banyam meaning sons. Okay, that's H1121 banyam meaning son. Okay, son. That's just what it is. Son, grandson. All right. That's what the biblical outline specifies. Male child. All right. Young man. It tells you clearly. So now you can't have no other confusion as per who is able to join the army. Okay, of the nation of Israel. All right, and it says, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls. Okay, they're not going to tell you this much in the churches, man. As per the breakdown of when it talks about children. Okay, now verse 3 tells you from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel. Thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. Yeah, for 20 and up. Okay, yeah. And if you're still fit up to your 40s, hey, you might as well fall in line. So agility is no joke, man. When it comes to battle, you have to be able to endure hardness. That's a good soldier for the Lord Hamashak Yahushai. All right, our Lord Hamashak Yahushai. And then verse 4 says, and with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of his fathers. Okay, so that's just how it is. You have to have representation. Representation. That's just how it is. And the Lord was always fair and balanced. Okay, that's just the whole structure that the Lord has given us. Okay, so now we get another precept. It's gonna be from the book of Isaiah, chapter 13 and 14. It tells you how Babylon is gonna be, in these last days, man, because they're not gonna be able to shake off the destruction that's coming on this place. So Isaiah chapter 13. Let me get to verse 13. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall move out of the high place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chase roll, and as a ship that no man taketh up. There shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Yeah, so the Lord is going to bring about the destruction that will there force the people to segregate, man. To segregate. The Lord has to enforce segregation. Because that's one thing human beings will always fall back into, man, their familiarity. And then verse 15 says, everyone that is found shall be thrust true, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Yeah, so chaos, man. 16 says that children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes, their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. So, chaos, man. Chaos upon the earth, destruction upon the earth. So, I play the clip and I get some more precepts.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. The federal government's preparing to begin automatically registering eligible U.S. men ages 18 to 26 for the military draft pool. The U.S. hasn't had a draft since 1973, but it still maintains a registry of eligible men in case the draft is restored. The new rules around automatic military draft registration were tucked into the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act. In early March, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt did not rule out President Trump reinstating the draft itself. She was questioned by Fox News host Maria Bartiromo.
Mothers out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know, it's been largely an air campaign up until now.
It has been, and it will continue to be, and President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table.
We're joined now by Edward Hasbrook, organizer with the Anti-Draft Coalition, which opposes the plan for automatic registrations, calling for repeal of the Military Selective Service.
Yeah, so, well, the Selective Service was always part of that program. When you turn 18, you go into college, you file for what you call it, your FAFSA, the aid program, the for going to college and all that stuff, man. Your FAFSA application, you're not going to qualify if you have a felony and all that stuff to get government aid, financial aid to go to college and all that stuff. So there's always a box you check to register for selective service if you're gonna receive financial aid to go to college. So there's always a pipeline to have people register, for the draft, to be on the registry, and then you have students in high school that join the ROTC program. So now you have an idea about how people get into the military. Some just go voluntarily, without signing up for selective service, without joining the ROTC program. They just, hit a wall in life and decide to jump in that pool, and then they see what's there to offer. Some join out of desperation, and when Job Corps doesn't give them that buffer that they're looking for, they join the military. That's one of the easy ways that a lot of people are able to pull themselves up out of poverty. Gives them a structure until they're able to, mature psychologically. Because how people, find out the hard way. Yep. Yeah, joining the military is basically finding out the hard way. And yeah, it's not for everybody, man. Yeah, it's not for everybody. So yeah, that's just how it is. So the empire, needs buddies in boots. The empire needs boots on the ground, and that's what we're gonna be seeing more and more and more. And when you have a dysfunctional society, you're gonna have a dysfunctional military population, and that's the situation we have to deal with. So that's the messed up outcome. All types of atrocities and abominable acts. That you hear of. So when you have such activities taking place in the military, There is no way to sustain that empire, because the whole foundation is corrupt, from the judiciary bench all the way to the executive branch. You know, everything's messed up. Executive, legislative, and judiciary. It's all messed up from the inside out. So there is no way, to sustain the empire because that's just the way, the Most High has structured the system of the serpent, man. It has to be destroyed from within. And that's the reason why these politicians stay so long in office for decades. They're in their 70s, in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, still just holding, blocking, what you call professional or career gatekeepers. All right. So it's going to be a mess. Joel 2 and 20, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. So that's what the Lord is going to do. The troops are going to have to go to the Middle East, man. They're going to have to go to the valley of Hawashpat, the valley of decision, the valley of the Most High's judgment. So it's going to be a beautiful journey, in prophecy. It's gonna be beautiful, man, to see what the Lord is gonna make happen in these last days. All right, so it's gonna be painful for the family members, and it's gonna be horrible. When you read the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15 and 16, it tells you, the reaction that you're gonna have to see. Yeah, so it tells you in verse 16, 2 Ezra 15:16, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, so it's gonna be a sad environment to be in. Optimism, hasta la vista, baby. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. So you're gonna have a blockade, man, within the cities, man. You're gonna have checkpoints, all that stuff, man, because of the troops, guarding key areas, access points around the country, So it's gonna be a rough time to live in. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, their houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yeah, so the folks are going to turn against each other. The government against the people, the government against the government, the people against the people. So it's going to be a chaotic landscape. There's nothing that these people can do to change the course that Babylon is heading towards, is heading on. So another precept would be from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4, and verse 19. It tells you clearly that, the prophets are going to have to deal with the situation too, man. If you want to be spiritual, you're going to have to have some spiritual fortitude, man. You have to trust in the Lord. You got to have faith, to deal with what's coming. Jeremiah 4:19. My bowels, I am pained at my very heart. My heart maketh a noise in me. I cannot hold my peace because thou hast heard, O my soul, the sound of the trumpet, the alarm of war. Yeah, so bro's gonna lose sleep in those days, man. You're gonna be nervous, you're gonna be stressed out. Your faith is still gonna be intact, man. But it's a transition. We all have to pass through that fire. We have to go through this environment of instability, of chaos, an environment of animosity. You have to pass through it, man. We have to go through that, the furnace of adversity. All right. Now, you just have to realize, man, that it's gonna be painful. It's gonna be painful. You're gonna have to go through the time of Jacob's trouble. It's all gonna be devastating, man. So you just have to be prepared spiritually, man. That's the reason why you gotta pay attention for prophecy. Okay, so yeah, the Northern Army is gonna head towards the Middle East, man. They're gonna have to deal with whatever is going on in the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea and all that stuff, man. They're gonna have to deal with the elements of the Middle East. So, Second Ezra chapter 16:31 and 34 also explains, the breakdown of the family, man. When the women have no support, they have no foundation to rely on because the empire, the empire, is gonna have to absorb the man, into that black hole. All right. Second Ezra chapter 16:31. Even so, in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. Yeah, so it's gonna be a deserted, regions, especially neighborhoods, man. Neighborhoods are gonna be so jacked up when immigration, begins to go in the reverse direction. That's it. Scripture tells you that folks are gonna go back to their own lands, man. A lot of folks that from the west coast of Africa, they'll be hurrying up. She, forget about it. They'll be heading back. Those that are from India, hey, Sanju, pretty everything, man. They're heading back. They're moving on. Those from Afghanistan, they're heading out back to Afghanistan. Those from Libya, Morocco, boom. Those Cushites too will be heading back to Cushiland, man. They're heading back to Ethiopia and Somalia, man. They're heading back. Moab will be going back to Moab land. So it's gonna be tough. And I think all that's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough, man, for Jakes, man. The Edomites, man. They're already making moves, to rush to South America, man. To moving, immigrating, man. They're going to go into Africa. When you look on YouTube, you see those beautiful places in Tanzania, in Ghana, Nigeria, Morocco. Yeah, man, they're gonna be moving down there. You hear about people complaining of all these expats, all these so-called digital nomads. Yeah, that's just the first wave. All right. Yeah, so you're gonna have that same situation too. Even in Mexico, you hear about these protests about life becoming expensive for those that live across the border in Tijuana because of all the so-called American citizens living in Tijuana and working in San Diego. and they also have the digital nomads. So that's just the the way the cookie is crumbling, and more Edomites are heading down south into South Central Latin America, man. They're going to Argentina, Brazil, uh, Guatemala, Panama, the islands, also the Caribbean, Suriname, Curacao, Paraguay, Uruguay. They're all heading down south, man. And that's why Amalek is heavy down there in Argentina. They're gonna do whatever they're gonna do to move away from the hotspot, because America is gonna be the hotspot for destruction. So they're already making moves. That's why there's wildfires over there in Argentina and Chile, because Amalek wants to carve out an enclave for themselves, so that they can avoid all this destruction, man, when it comes. That's why the so-called government of Argentina, is infested with the Amalekites, man. South America. So that's just how it is. So it's gonna be a strange time, man, in those days. So yeah, it's gonna be painful, for a lot of people in these days to come, man. It's gonna be crazy, because a lot of parents are not gonna agree, man. You have parents on the board, on the comment board that are veterans. They're not gonna go along with this agenda. It's gonna get ugly. You're gonna hear about senators getting blasted, man. You're gonna see synagogues on fire of all these little hats, man. Yeah, because when you start to reach into people's homes after you've rendered them poor and desperate and miserable, what do you think is going to happen when you touch all that they have left? So it's going to be chaos, man. And when so-called law enforcement wants to show up and respond, they're going to get it too. So now they're beginning to catch the memo. So the so-called conspiracy theorists, they'll have to, yeah, they'll have to find something else to do, man, because there'll be nothing else to talk about. Now it's time for action. You know, nothing else to talk about. They're gonna have to prepare everything that they've learned. They have to put it to use. And the same thing applies to the prophets of the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai. So everything we've learned as per prophecy, man, we're gonna have to, you know, move, man, move by the Spirit. The Spirit has to move you in righteousness, man, so you do not act like a beast in these last days, man, because, Isaiah chapter 33 and 6 tells you clearly what you're going to have to abide by in these days, man, these last days, when the structure of governance falls apart. Isaiah 33 and 6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. All right, the times of Jacob's trouble, okay, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai Kakadash is his treasures. All right, it's his treasure. All right, so that's the plan, that we have to look forward to seeing, man, how the Lord will strengthen the minds of his elect to withstand, the calamities that's coming upon the face of the earth. So that's the lesson. Hopefully, we're prepared for more bitterness to come. Shalom.